question is, how do I maintain my inner power while I'm scaling my business? And I know that this question must be from a member because of the way that they phrased it. They know I talk about power and your inner power a lot. So that's where that question is coming from, but it is important. And so I have what's called a Profitable Empires framework. And the framework has 7 layers. I like to equate building a business to building a house. And so the very first layer of the framework is called power, because everything else that you do in your business is going to need its energy, its ideas, its thoughts. It's going to need that to come from you. And in order for you to deliver, in order for you to have great ideas, in order for you to lead a team, in order for you to deliver on your amazingness, you need to have strong power. And that comes from the inside. It's not something that you get externally. And so whatever your faith may or may not be, you need to have an internal strength. And so when this person talks about this inner power, I've seen for so many years, I've been in this business consulting space for over 36 years now. I've consulted for large companies like Marriott. I've consulted for small businesses like solopreneurs, local stores. I've done it all. And something that I've seen consistently happen when it's time to scale, whether you're scaling from mid 6 figures to 7 figures to 8, the founder and the CEO starts to feel the overwhelm, starts to feel the burnout, starts to feel the pressure that comes with having all of these responsibilities now and also trying to continue to grow. So it's really important that when you think about scaling, actually before you think about scaling, that you start to take so much more extra care of yourself. That means, your mental self, your mindset, whether that's prayer for you, meditation, your body, whether that's somatic exercises, whether that is jogging, working out, what you're eating, all of those things need to be strong before you start to scale, or everything is going to crash. So unlike what a lot of people who focus on scaling teach, they focus so much on the processes and the systems, and that's great, that's important. But in the Profitable Empires framework, believe it or not, there are 2 layers that come before. Actually, there's 3 layers that come before the processes and the systems. And most people will not share this part with you. So that's why I chose this question. I love this question. I will say it until I'm blue in the face. Scaling is more than systems and SOPs. Scaling is about shedding societal shoulds and redefining success so that you are not sacrificing your personal happiness. So I hope that answers the question for that person who will have an opportunity to listen to this later because they are a member, as well as those who are here live. I'm checking to see if any hands are raised. This is the time to click that icon for a question. I will love to bring you on stage. I'm going to go to another question from my list. Oh, this is a really, really good one. This says, how can I identify potential leaders within my team? Another great question, because pre-scale and scaling, those are the times in your business where you are going to need to step out of the day-to-day weeds of your business, and you're going to need to automate some things, you're going to need to delegate some things. And I have found, and honestly with women in particular, because we are natural nurturers, And so we treat our business the same way that we treat our children, our animals. We want to nurture and coddle our business. And it is a bigger challenge for us to let things go. We want things done a certain way. We tend to be perfectionists, and I understand it. We have a lot of external judgment about what we do and how we do it. However, in order to scale, you have to let it go. So let's first talk about isolate. Hi, Queenie. You know you're always one of my favorite people to see. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. So I'm talking about how to identify leaders. And so first of all, I want to start with you as the leader, because in order for you to identify leaders, you have to first step into the role of leader, which means getting out of the weeds of your business. When you are able to take your hands off of everything and step into that true CEO role, you'll be amazed at how the leaders on your team just appear. They will rise as cream to the top because you now have gotten out of their way. So I was talking about how you can first lead by example as a leader, and that means that isolate. Isolate is two things, has two sides. One is looking at the things in your business that don't need to be done. When we are growing a business, when we are getting from 0 to, I would say, $500,000, we have a lot of stuff going on in the business. But once you get to that $500,000, and preferably sooner, but once you get to $500,000 for sure, you absolutely need to be looking at the things that you've been doing that do not need to be done. They may have helped before, but it does not mean that they're going to be helpful now or even necessary. Let them go. And here's a shocker. Sometimes you are going to also let go of a product or service that's profitable. But in order for you to make room for more, in order to make room for growth, just like all those clothes in your closet and those shoes in your closet, okay, no, I'm talking about me. You need to let some things go. So that's isolate. The other half of isolate, the other side of the coin, is what are the things in your business that you know need to be done, but they've been on the to-do list because you've been in hustle and grind and grow mode. Top on the list for me is follow-up. It is the number one profit leak that I find when I work with women CEOs. So look at those things on your to-do list that you know would grow the business, that you know would bring in more customers, but you haven't had time to do it. Well, now is the time, because you're going to step into the CEO seat, and you are going to allow your team to show you what they're made of. And until you're able to step into that seat and get out of their way, it is going to be challenging for you to identify the potential leaders within your team. And so then we talked a little bit, or I mentioned the automate, because once you've isolated both sides of the coin, now you want to look at what can be automated, what can be done by a software or a tool. So many people are concerned about AI. AI is amazing. It's not here to take people's jobs. AI is here to allow your leaders to do human things. All of the follow-up I just talked about, if your team is not drowning in tasks that a tool can do, then your team can be the ones that are doing real live human connections and having conversations and doing that follow-up with your prospects as well as with your customers. So do not shy away from tools and software, and absolutely embrace AI. So now that brings me to delegate. Because now that you are in the CEO seat and you're not micromanaging, your job is to shake hands and kiss babies. I say it all the time. You are the visionary. Be the visionary of where your company is going, and get out of your office, get from behind the computer, get from micromanaging, and go out into the community, go whether that's virtually or physically, and shake hands and kiss babies. That's your job. Everything else then, besides what your genius is, like there's this thing that's your it factor that only you can do, right? So those are the three things you're focusing on: visionary, your it factor, and shaking hands and kissing babies. That means everything else that needs to happen in the company that hasn't been isolated away or out of being done at all, and has not been automated, has to be delegated. That's a lot of stuff, and a lot of it is things that you have been used to doing. You're going to need to let it go and accept the fact that absolutely you're right. No one is ever going to do it the way you do it. No one is ever going to be as great as you are at some of those things. That's okay. If they can be 75%, then you're golden. And then accept the fact that there are lots of things you're doing that you're not that great at. So let somebody else who's amazing at it, or who wants to become amazing at it, step into that role and again show you what they're made of. And then the last part of this question, I have to say, because I would feel like it's an incomplete answer if I don't. Leadership and choosing potential leaders for your team actually starts before you ever hire them. So be very careful when you're thinking about, well, how do I identify potential leaders within your team? Because you may have hired people who are followers. And one of the worst things that you can do for your business and that you can do for them is to try to turn a follower into a leader. Accept the fact that someone has to make the pizza. Everyone cannot own the pizza parlor. So when you're thinking about your team, you have to really be honest about what their strengths are and be okay with that. Because if you try to put a follower in a leadership role, they're going to do poorly. Their self-esteem is going to diminish. Their productivity will decrease. Your profits can become questionable. And they will eventually either leave or you will fire them. So when you are hiring people for your team, identify in the beginning whether this is a role that you need a follower to be in, because everybody cannot be chief. You need Indians who just take assignments, take tasks, and do them. And just decide if it's a role where you need someone who is a leader. And that's really where it starts. And when you start that way, you won't need to ask how to identify potential leaders within your team, because you'll know who those people are. Hi, Taria. How are you? Thank you so much for coming by and spending a few minutes with me. If you have a question, if anyone has a question, please use the raised hand icon so I can bring you on stage. I will be happy to answer your questions. In the meantime, I have a list of questions here, and I am just going through those questions and pouring into you from my experience and wisdom, and hopefully this is helpful. So let's see, I'm just pulling questions off of the list and answering those. Ooh, here's another good one I like. This question asks, what should I look for in a strategic partner? This is a great question. So I already talked about the Profitable Empires framework and the fact that it has 7 layers. One of the layers in the framework is called partnerships, because the truth is, as amazing as we are, we can only build our business to a certain point, to a certain level, and then we do need a team, and we would benefit greatly from having extended relationships. Sometimes those are called partnerships. For people who have the type of business that makes room for affiliates, having affiliate marketing is a great way to have partnerships. For people who have the kind of businesses where you need brand ambassadors, so there's lots of words and phrases for what this quote unquote partnership relationship could look like. But it's the strategic part of the question that I really want to dig into, because strategy in these relationships is where it turns into fruit. You can have a partnership or a collaborative relationship with someone that is not going to help your business grow, or that you really may not be able to help their business grow. And so the very first thing is, what is the why? Like, why do you believe that this person would be a good partner? And before you can identify whether they would or would not be, you need to know what you need. You know, what is it that you are looking for? What would help you? A partner could be an intern, to be honest with you. Like, there's so many ways to look at a strategic partnership. So what do you need? What is that thing that is going to help you with something on your to-do list? Is it that you need a connection? You want to be able to meet someone, or you want to be able to have a presence in a particular organization? Is it that you want to start expanding globally and you're looking for someone who is an influencer in another country? Is it that you are looking for an ingredient or a supply that you feel will help to decrease costs in your business chain, right? It's so many ways to look at strategic partnerships. So start with, what do you need? And then the next thing is, what do you have? And when I say that, I mean, what do you have to give? Because a partnership is a two-way street. So when you're thinking about developing or building or approaching a partnership with someone else, it would be amazing if you have something that they also need, so it is a win-win. So what is it that you have to give? Start with that. Approach the person with giving. I am here to help you with XYZ, because people are very reciprocal. I mean, it really is human nature for most people. And so when you are leading with how you can help, how you can serve, who do you know? One of my favorite things to do is to connect people. If I know that you do something and I know someone else that would be a great collaborator, I introduce. This platform, these audio events, actually, I created for this very reason. When I have people come on as speakers on the panel, I am intentionally looking at, what does this person do? What does this person do? What does this person do? Who would be great in a conversation together? But my intention is that they have such synergy that when they come off of the panel, they want to do something together in the future. So what is your why? Once you know that, and you know what it is that you have to give, what it is that you need, then the third thing, or maybe this is the fourth thing, I'm a teacher, so I can just go into this deep at the drop of a hat. So whatever number I'm on, that number. When you think about partnerships, also recognize that everyone you meet, everyone that you encounter, technically is a partnership prospect all the time. Someone can be a potential customer or client, and that's great to look for, but someone who is not a potential customer or client is absolutely a potential partner, a potential collaborator. And so everyone that you meet has value. Always remember, everyone you meet has value. I've heard so many people say that they've gone to a networking event and they thought it was a waste of time. And it may have been a waste of time because they had the wrong perspective about the networking event. They probably went there only thinking about, I'm looking for clients. And most networking events is not where you're going to find clients anyway, because everyone is there looking for the same kind of client that you're looking for. That's why they chose that event, which means that there aren't going to be any clients there, or very few, right? So It's a totally different mindset shift. You can be on the bus. You can be standing in line at the grocery store. Everyone you're talking to is either directly a partner or they know someone who would be a great partner for you. So when we're talking about strategy, when we're talking about strategic partnerships, expand your mind as to where you're going to find these strategic partnerships. Expand your mind as to what strategic partnerships look like. It's not about them coming with money. It could be about them coming with something totally different. It could be something as simple as this is someone who has access to getting you on stage at a conference, right? So I really, I think I went every way I can think of with that question. So I'm going to go to another question. Does anyone want to raise their hand and come on stage to ask a business question, a leadership question, a scaling question? I am all ears. Okay. Well, let's see what other question I have on this list that I'm going to pull off. Well, okay. Well, this is a great one because it's a really great segment from the first two questions. And this question is about how can I start positioning myself as an authority in my industry. And so I talk about this a lot. So many of these questions, and I think I mentioned earlier for those of you who are just coming on, when members of InterCultural Voices are not able to be here live, they can submit questions ahead of time. So a lot of their questions, which is what I'm reading from right now, are very targeted because they're already inside the community and they already know the things that I teach. So they're asking very specific questions. Your question doesn't have to be that specific or that targeted. You're welcome to come on stage and ask any question that you like. But this particular question I love because I did a post recently. You may want to check that out on LinkedIn. I believe it was just a couple of days ago. And I said that really the number one thing, the most important thing that you need when you are scaling, well, anytime, but really when you're ready to start scaling, whether it's pre-scale or in full-blown scale mode, is authority. A lot of people talk about other things, and I said earlier, systems and processes. Well, I'm going to tell you, systems and processes, oh my goodness, COOs, the directors of operations, online business managers, they're going to be mad at what I'm getting ready to tell you, but I'm here to tell the truth. I am always here to tell the truth, and here it is. You can let ChatGPT do your systems and processes. You can let ChatGPT write your SOPs. Okay? Please understand. Please hear me when I say this. Scaling is not about systems and SOPs. Chat can do that in 5 minutes. Let Chat do that for you. Systems and SOPs is just words. It's just organizing and documenting what you're doing and what needs to be done. If you're not doing it yet, tell Chat, oh, this is what we want to do. Create a process for this. It will do it and do it amazingly, okay? So when you're thinking about scaling, this is the reason that the Profitable Empires framework has 7 layers because there's so much more that goes into it. So authority is why I say that it's one of the number one things, the top thing for you to focus on when you want to scale. And authority has 3 pillars. The first pillar is internal authority. Because remember in the first question, I talked so much about who are you being? When it's time to scale and it's time to get out of the weeds of your business and step into that CEO role, you have to focus on who you be, not just what you do. Because that is going to be a totally different space for you to operate and function in. And so your internal authority has to come first. Your mindset, your health, taking care of your body, your spiritual health, whatever that all looks like for you, it's internal authority. The second piece of authority is influence authority, and that is your leadership. We've already talked about that a lot with one of the questions as well, right? It's how are you being for others? So your internal authority is how you're being for yourself. Your influence authority is how you are being for others. That's your team. That's how are you leading. And then the third level or the third type of authority is impact authority. And that's how are you being for society? Why are you here? What is your purpose? What impact are you here to leave on this world? Your legacy, right? That's what that final level or pillar of authority is. And so the very first thing that you want to be clear on are those three positions of authority, and then you now go out to position yourself. It's being on podcasts. It's being, recognized by different awards and accolades. It's being featured in articles in magazines. And my all-time favorite, and I'm going to say that I am biased with this one now, so I'm just going to confess before I say it, because Profitable Empires has a publishing company, and so I am biased, but I am telling you the truth. You need to write a book. You need to write a book, or you need to write another one, because a book elevates authority faster and more solidly, if that's a word, than almost anything else you can do. You can be on a stage, you can get an award, you can do all those things, but they sort of fade away. That book absolutely never, ever, ever does. And one of the things that I am always concerned about when it comes to people who have a book is that publishing companies want you to publish the book, but they don't tell you how to monetize having a book. You are not going to get rich off of simply having a book. I mean, a few people do, like Oprah and Chicken Soup for the Soul. So I'm not saying that it isn't possible to do. But there are so many other strategies for you to get filthy rich off of having a book, and it isn't selling the book for $15 or $30. That's the part that I'm trying to get across, right? And so having a book is like having a big business card. I cannot tell you how many times someone that was a client of mine has tried to get connected with a particular business, a particular CEO, get on a particular stage, and they kept being, ghosted or ignored or kept on red, I think the young people say. And once we had them write their book, all of the sudden now, people were coming to them. So don't let anyone tell you, oh, but everybody has a book. First of all, everyone doesn't have a book. We feel like everyone has a book because we're in a space where lots of people have a book. But if you go out into the real world, because by the way, the internet, social media, it really isn't the real world. If you go out into the real world, most of those people don't have a book, and most of those people's jaws drop when you say that you've written a book. So I'm telling you, if you want to position your authority as a CEO, if you want to really see your business scale in ways that you don't imagine, write a book or write another book. I don't care if you have 10 books, write book number 11. You can never have too many books. And so I also want to share this. Writing a book does not require you to go to a publishing house. It doesn't require you to have, Random House contact you and say, oh, we want you to write a book and here's $100,000 to write a book. You can write your book. You can write your book yourself. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you this. We don't market Profitable Empires Publishing Company because we would prefer to see you write your own book, and we would prefer to teach you how to do that and to teach you how to make money off the book. you can get it published anywhere you want to get it published. That's cool. Simple thing. I literally have a Trello board. That's what I sell to my clients. It goes from I don't have an idea for my book all the way through every single step of this book. Get the Trello board and do it yourself. Period. Right? You can publish your book on Amazon. You can publish your book on Lighthouse. Like there's too many ways for that to be done. You do not need to spend $10,000, $15,000. Boy, oh boy, I tell you, these publishing houses are going to be mad at me. But I'm just telling you the truth. So when you think about positioning your authority, it's all of those things. Whether you like it or not, oh boy, you know what? I'm getting ready to say something else. When I say this, you guys are going to be like, I'm not coming to her show anymore because she is stepping on too many toes. But here's another toe. People are saying, I heard it the other day, well, I'm not paying to be in somebody's magazine. I'm not paying to get a recognition. I'm not paying to, be written up in an article. And I'm going to tell you the truth, that's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous because we will pay for a billboard, we'll pay for a magazine ad, we'll pay for flyers, we'll pay for merch that has our logo on it. All of that is marketing. All of that is positioning your brand. So don't be swayed by the naysayers out there who feel like, oh, well, I'm not paying to speak on someone else's stage. They should be paying me. But again, you would pay for Facebook ads and not necessarily get the audience or the target market that you want, and that's money that is just flushing down the drain. So listen when I tell you that positioning and authority looks a whole lot of different ways. If you need to pay to play, then do that. Because once you have certain accolades and once you've been seen by certain industries and you're on the inside of the inside, then you don't have to pay anymore. So just be aware. It's all marketing. Have a marketing budget. Decide whether this is beneficial to you. Absolutely don't pay to be on someone's stage if they don't have your target market in the audience, because that's not going to turn into fruit for you later. And while I'm on my soapbox, let me add this thing about not speaking for free. That's also ridiculous. It's just nonsense, because the reason that people believe that is because no one has taught them how to monetize when they speak for free. I will speak for free all day, every day. Tell me where. I'm there. Because I know how to turn that free speaking into millions of dollars. I don't want your money. Let me come speak for free, please. So you have to change your perspective about authority. You have to change your perspective or expand it. Expand your perspective about positioning and what it really means. You are in it to win it. That's what you're here for. And whatever that takes within your morals and within your core values, right? There's lots of things that I would never do, as would you, right? But know what that is. Don't get caught in all of these shoulds that you hear people saying, because so many of the people who are saying you shouldn't have to pay to be on someone else's stage, they aren't making any money. So be real careful what you listen to and what you believe. Okay, I'm going to stop now. I told y'all, maybe I just need to have somebody raise their hand and come and ask a question. So I will stop having soapbox moments. Yay! Taria, are you coming to save me from myself? Let me bring you on stage. Have mercy. Hi, Taria.
unmute. Oh, great morning, Dr. Linette. How are you?
You came to save me from myself.
I'm over here. I'm like, dang on it. They need to add a comment button to this thing.
I know, right? I'm like, Lord, don't they know that they need to not? I can talk to myself. I don't need anybody. So what's your question or comments?
I don't really per se have a question. I'll just say this. First of all, let me just say thank you, for hosting the platform and having such great topics. And I want to go back, if I can, a little bit to strategic partnerships.
Please.
Okay. And one of the things I heard you when you list out a lot of the things that you should look for when it comes to partnerships. And one of the things I would love for you, so I guess this is a question, would love for you to expound a little bit on is how does your value system, come into play when you are looking for partnerships or collaboration? Because a lot of times I think we see the thing that we want, but how do you go ahead and vet from a value perspective if the person or the organization is a good fit?
Oh my gosh, that is such a great question and or conversation, because I think it's so important. Someone asked me recently about doing a testimonial. There are lots of people that I will refer and I will recommend to others or make introductions. However, there are only 2 testimonials. I've been doing this for almost 40 years. There are only 2 testimonials in this world that I have written. And my reason is because, to your point, when you do a testimonial, when you get into a partnership with someone, you are taking on a certain responsibility for who they are and how they show up. And I value. I was born and raised in Bronx, New York City, and we were always taught that your word is your bond. And so I really value what I say, and I don't want that to be tarnished. So when I am thinking about partnerships, I am really, really watching people. I don't just jump in to the phrase we use, right? Jump in bed. I don't just jump into partnership relationships with people and I have not watched them, because sooner or later the honeymoon is over. Like sooner or later, if you wait long enough, people are who they are and you will get to see that. So one of the very first things that I like to look at is, what is their give back? Giving back is top on my list. I actually will not work with a client unless they have or one of the things we create is their give back, because we're not here for us. We're here for our future. So how are they giving back? What are they donating their money or their time to? Every company we have has a completely built out give back program. In fact, InterCultural Voices has one, and it's called Rising Leaders. And for everyone who joins as a paying member of InterCultural Voices, a rising leader gets a free membership. Like, we always do something and have something going on in every single business for giving back. So what are they doing? Show me, like let me get involved. Do you have a day that you're cleaning up your town? Like, what does that look like? That is top for me, because if you're not giving back, publicly giving back, then I don't know what you're doing, and that may not matter to someone else. And so, to your point, Taria, what are your values? What matters to you? And then you want to see, does that line up with not what they say, but what are they doing? That's the difference for me. And so that takes time. Like, I am literally watching. I'm the lurker. I'm creeping. I buy your product and program. I don't need it for free. That's cool. I have a totally different email address that is unattached to me whatsoever. I get on your email list. I buy your product. I come to your programs because I really want to see who you be, not who you say you are, not how you show up, but who are you really? And so I think the other part, Taria, is going back to, like, what are your core values in order to match them with the other, but it also goes to what kind of partnership. Because if you're trying to get in a partnership that's going to involve money or sharing of stocks or, you know, anything that's like that, then you want to see some papers, some P&L, some tax statements, something, right? You want your attorney involved, you want your accountant involved, you want to see the numbers. And that's a little scary because now it's so easy to fudge those. So, you know, partnerships, I find it to be one of the most challenging areas to venture into. However, it is necessary. So I would say baby steps. Pick something that you are safe with. Like, if I know that you are giving back in this particular way, then I would want to do something with you in that space. Like, I want to come and feed the homeless with you. Like, I literally am coming with my jeans on and my hat, and I'm scooping food. I want to be boots on the ground with how you say that you are giving back. But again, because that's a huge value for me. The other thing, my top core value is loyalty. It's loyalty, period. It always has been. I'm sure, again, that's because I grew up in Bronx, New York. And that's like one of the things you don't ever do is snitch. So for me, Taria, I'm paying attention to what are they saying online. What are they talking about online? Not just what's being talked about them. Because now if I find content, if I'm Googling you and I'm finding people saying negative things about you, while I do know that it doesn't have to be true, it's still giving me information that I need to be paying attention to. But I'm also paying attention to what are you saying. If you're online complaining about your clients, if you're online saying negative things, if you're online saying something about a past coach or consultant that you've worked with, whatever this looks like, and it's not in context. So when I say in context, I mean that one of the things that I do is profit leaks audits. So in order for me to give a case study, I'm not saying names, I'm not saying names of companies, but I may do a post online and I'm telling the scenario, and then I'm talking about what went wrong in this customer experience and how it can be fixed. That's in context with what I do. It's not just me online ranting and raving because I, went to McDonald's and the coffee that I asked for was too hot. So I am looking at lots of things when it comes to me making a decision to be in a partnership relationship with someone, and I am looking at it from my core values and what really matters to me. If you are running your mouth in ways like that about other people, then I am questioning your loyalty. And because one of my other top 3 core values is confidentiality, then now I'm also questioning that. There are things that I will never, not things, everything. I will go to my grave with things. It doesn't matter if we're no longer friends. It doesn't matter if somebody, bad mouths me. I do not believe that it is ever allowed for me to say or to tell things that I happen to know. So if I see someone, using their words and their voice in a negative way, then I am also questioning their confidentiality. And because my third top core value is authenticity, then again, this example that I'm giving now, it brings into question for me their authenticity, because they smile in the person's face or they're taking the person's money, but they're over here talking negatively about them. So to wrap up my answer, know your core values and see how they line up with not just what that person says on their website is their core values, but what are they showing? How are they showing up? What are they displaying? How are they behaving? How are they dressing? How are they talking? All of those things will reveal what is behind the mask and behind the red bottom shoes.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I just want to echo the sentiment, if I can, that it really does take for the business owner to take the time to identify what their values are, and then not just identify them, live them, and also be able to communicate them. Okay? And so I find sometimes that, you know, when you're challenged, when you're not communicating your values, then people kind of mistake a lot of stuff, and then you see the end goal, what you want, and then as you journey, there's conflict, right? And that's because you do a good job of communicating things that was most important to you outside of the money or outside of the goal. So thank you.
I love that. And you know what, Taria, you brought up another point regarding this, and that is being clear about what the agreement is in the partnership, right? Because I've a lot of people, and especially if you're doing something that's more bartery, but most partnership agreements have a barter undertone, because you're giving to get, they're giving to get. But a lot of people feel like they don't want to get into partnerships because when they have in the past, they feel like they got the short end of the stick, that they gave and gave and gave and gave, and they don't feel like they got the same value in return, right? Have you heard people say that?
Oh yeah, all the time. And to be honest with you, Dr. Linette, is one of the questions that, I'm going to say for our community. I'm looking at your panel just to make sure that we're all African Americans out here. So I step on toes too. So it's one of the questions that I, have, and I'm trying to find the answer, is to why can't more of our people come together, to do things. And so I take a look at, the other influencers, top influencers, like your Bouchards and, your Gary V's and all of those guys, and, Pedro Adayo. And I seem to notice a pattern. And the pattern that I've noticed with them is that they promote each other. They're on each other's stages. They do business. They share their list together. Okay? And so sometimes I wonder not just what is the mindset, but also, like we're talking about, what are the strategies or the things that need to happen on the back end to make sure that collaborations, are successful, like those types of collaborations, because as we said before, we could only do so much by ourselves, right? So we need to be able to connect and link arms with the right people, but knowing that it's not a short term, well, some of it can be, because you alluded to affiliates and all that stuff, but when you're taking a look at the long term, okay, how do you really put the systems in place to make sure that you are vetting the right people, that you are doing what you need to do? So I'm going to take it off of other people, making sure that you need to do what you do, like I need to do what I need to do, okay, to be able to sit in the seats of relationships like those.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else want to come on stage to join this conversation? Any questions That is so true, and it's so it's challenging. I mean, I wish that I had the perfect answer, because this would really go so much deeper. It would be, all about judgment and racism, and it's the messages that we have heard, that we have been told about ourselves that aren't true. But we've been told it for so long that we have started to see everyone as the enemy, because we don't know who is the enemy and who isn't, for lack of a better word. And I feel like it has just created such a crab in a crab pot mentality. And we're going to have to decide, and I mean decide, that we're going to change that, which again, I mentioned earlier, is the reason for this LinkedIn audio live. I mean, just being completely honest, I am not benefiting from doing these weekly LinkedIn audio lives. This is not my business. This is our give back. This is because we care. I have a company that is how I build my empire. My son, who is the founder and CEO of InterCultural Voices, he has his own company for how he's building his empire. We have seen how people of color, all colors, not just black skinned people, have challenges that we have faced in our journey, and we are trying to create that space for them to be seen, for them to be heard, for them to have a voice. And I am intentionally, someone asked why we don't do these with video. I intentionally chose audio because we are already being judged by the visual. We're being judged by what we look like before they hear that we're amazing, that we're brilliant, that we have a message to bring. And so I realized that the circle faces are there. I couldn't get rid of those, but I could at least bring it down as much as I could to people not judging what we look like because we're on video. So InterCultural Voices is here for that very reason, so that people can feel safe. They can feel like, okay, great, she's inviting me to be on stage, and I get to share my brilliance and I get to meet other people. Like, that's the whole point. And someone asked me, they said, well, we don't understand. Like, we know what your rates are in your business. Why in the world would InterCultural Voices, why would you offer a membership there that's only $500 for the whole year? And I've had so many people try to tell me that I shouldn't do that. And I'm like, that's what I mean. There you go with should. I should be doing what my purpose is to do. This isn't about money. This is about the fact that everyone needs to have a place that they can come regardless to what their financial situation is, to have a place where they know that every day I'm scouting, I'm looking, who can I introduce you to? Who can I connect you with? What can I get you on the platform to talk about on an audio live? Well, can we do a LinkedIn carousel collaboration? Like, that's what the whole membership is about. I am constantly looking for ways to give visibility and to increase access to people of color. And I feel like when we can stand up and put our actions and our time and our money behind what we say we desire, what we want the world to look like, then that's when what the world looks like will change. And that's my perspective, and I hope that, and I want to thank Shirley and Allegra and Queenie and you, Taria, for being here and for staying. And, I hope that when you come, because normally I'm interviewing people, so they are the ones that do all the talking except for my questions. And I hope when you come to Q&As, you have questions to ask, but that you also get to hear who I be, like what my heart really is, because I can't plan these. I can't stage my answers. I'm giving them to you from experience and really from a place of truth and passion. Any thoughts on that, Taria, or anyone else want to jump in before we all jump off?
No, I just want to say thank you once again. And I'm just going to say you gave me a great perspective and a great insight to who you are, as a person. I love the methodology behind why you do this as an audio, because, that was one of my questions. Like, why isn't this a video? But I see it, and it absolutely makes sense. And in getting on here today, I'm learning and I'm understanding more of your heart. So thank you, for being who you be and sharing that with the world.
Well, thank you so much. And I guess I should share that story as to why it is an audio. And, sometimes I do things and I don't always share or tell the story behind it, but that's probably a good one to tell, huh?
Yeah, because going back to when I was on last week, right? And we're talking about media and we're talking about all of these things. Sometimes it's easy to get trapped into what everybody else is doing, okay? But like you said, it's about being authentic and being true and staying true to who you are. And it definitely makes sense. Your why, like when you shared your why this is an audio, wow, that's powerful. Because I would have never thought of that. So you just opened my eyes.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing that and sharing your heart.